Hello and welcome to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. CVJS and I walk in solidarity and as allies for equality, justice, and respect. Black Lives Matter. Let's unite. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is Stephanie Martinez. She is a choreographer and the founder and artistic director of Patamar Dance Theater. Stephanie and I have known each other since 2019. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Hi, it's so good to see you. You look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you. I like your t-shirt.
Thank you. And my pearls. Yes, and I have to say, please just go to the side. I need to see your King Kong poster. Beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Oh gosh, so I'm really excited to be speaking with you today, a fellow choreographer. Um, in the first month of the new year, I think this is also auspicious with our brand new president and vice president. It just a lot of hope seems to be exhaled and expressed through this time. So I'm really happy to be speaking to you actually at this time as well.
I agree. Thank you. I feel the same sentiment. I feel just, the future's bright. The arts are still alive, and we are doing what we can, and now we're going to have the support system, behind us, which is this new administration.
Exactly. And let me know if you feel the same way. But I feel I've spoken about this to quite a few guests, but out of hardship, the arts usually have a renaissance. And I feel very strongly about this and what could come. What are your feelings about that?
I, I think for me, I make art because I have to. I don't think it's just this thing that I flow in and out of. It's really a part of my everyday life. It's just something that I'm completely drawn to. So I think most artists that have that perspective, or that just make things because they need to, it's going to keep moving forward. We're the unstoppables. I think the artists are the ones, I call us, we're not athletes, or we're not into sports, and we do it because that's our calling, for me personally.
And I have to tell you that I think you've just coined the name. If we had a superhero name, dancers and we are the unstoppables. Yes, I'm going to start saying that my colleague and friend Stephanie Martinez has given us our superhero name. I love that. So, first question I start with for everyone is, what part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in Chicago, Illinois,
Okay, love
South
that
Loop
city.
area, South Side, living in Chicago. I've been here for about 30 years.
Wow, it's such a great city. It's and the museum, your art institute is still, through all my travels, one of my favorite museums in the world. It's an extraordinary place. When I was working there for 6 weeks, about 4 years ago now, I got a subscription just so I could go. As I think I went 10 times in those, just so I could go in and out and just go for a half an hour. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I live right down the street, maybe 10 minutes away from it, 10 minutes away from Soldier Field. So I'm right downtown. And I think I love hearing you say that, because I think I take it for granted sometimes, where, it's right here, the Shed Aquarium, MoMA, everything's over here. And I go, but I realize that a lot of other cities don't have that type of infrastructure or, you know, availability, art just available to them at any time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Stephanie, I want to start um, right away with your new vision, which I really I can't wait to hear about. You founded it in 2020. You know, uh, like me, we decided, well, this COVID can't stop us as long as we're healthy. You know, we have to find out ways to reinvent and reimagine, which is so much about this show. So you created Patamar Dance Theater, a Chicago-based company that you artistically direct and that you created and founded. Please take us through this journey of creating Paramar. What led you to this decision? Who are your collaborators? And how do you see Paramar developing in the future?
Thank you. I think you're the first person that I've actually really talked to about Patamar. So
Wow.
this feels like a special moment for me. You know, well, of course, I created it during the pandemic, and you know, I was really motivated like never before. You know, I was hearing these loud calls for like diverse representation from performers to the artistic staff and leadership, and I thought, well, maybe I can use my unique perspective and vision to manifest a new type of contemporary company. What does that look like for me? How does that resonate with me? You know, and still produce this high caliber art, accessible live performance during COVID. So it was a lot, it was a juggernaut trying to get all the information that I was hearing and then my own personal perspective and soul searching about what that looked like. And, you know, that meant at that moment to think outside the box, you know, and find new ways to share um, this, our incredible art without endangering people and maintaining everyone's safety. So that was really how I started it and the root of where I began.
Okay. And do you have collaborators?
You know, right? I have artists that I've hired and brought into Chicago, and you know, they're my co-conspirators. I'm going to call them my co-conspirators. So, but they might shift and be different every time because right now we're just a pickup company, so we're looking to be a full working organization. But I really I had an audition online, people auditioned, and I picked a lot of people that I didn't know, people from Ballet Hispanico, people from Ballet BC, um, HS Pro. So it was, and then of course with diversity completely, you know, I wanted to represent everybody and had, you know, including like from my admin to me as a female choreographer to the art itself. So it was, and really walk the walk and not just talk about it, but really see it on stage and through the admin and now looking to the board.
Yeah,
So I do, the dancers are my collaborators, but we are so new
yeah,
that we are still building our infrastructure
yeah.
as we
It's an
speak.
exciting time.
I mean, in my mind, I thought like, you know, let's create some work to inspire cultural progress. And I think when I'm working with these diverse cast of artists, they're really intentional about their work.
Yeah.
I've hired dancers that we have the same points of view and they want to see the same things. And how are we going to make this work that represents it? So it was a huge task, and I really felt like everything was dying around me.
Mm.
And I thought, do something, plant a seed, plant a little tiny seed and see what happens. And I feel like we've been very well received.
Yeah. You know, similar to you, I had as a freelance choreographer, we go into companies, right? And we which is wonderful. It's a wonderful life. But like you in 2020, I thought, right. So now that I'm completely without work, because everything got canceled or postponed indefinitely. I thought, how can I walk the walk exactly like you? And that was the basis of this show, really, to highlight women and people of color first, and of course then talk to all of these amazing artists. I think you're the 57th or 58th interview about how they're manifesting their lives in this moment and how they have. And the other thing was, with these dance films I did the exact same thing. I got to choose the cast. So there was a cast that looked like, I always like to say, that represents the United States, not one demographic. So beautiful, right on. I have a question. Well,
Yeah.
two actually. Was Ethan a part of this?
No, Ethan
No.
was not. He's doing his own initiative. He's starting a scholarship fund in Chicago for younger artists that maybe can pay a little bit or cannot afford training. So he's really taken on his own initiative and is just hitting the ground running like all of us. So I'm really proud of him. He's really passionate about teaching. That
Yeah.
his that's his thing. So who knows? He may be a part of it, but right now he's got his hands full.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Ethan. We both love him. So, Stephanie, you have been choreographing now for 11 years for companies such as Joffrey Ballet, Ballet Hispanico, Luna Negra Theater, Luna Negra Dance Theater, Charlotte Ballet, Sacramento Ballet, Eugene Ballet, Nashville Ballet, Ballet Memphis, Kansas City Ballet, and the National Choreographers Initiative, among others. And you were awarded Joffrey Ballet's Winning Works Choreographers of Color Commission, the Chicago Three Arts Award in recognition for your work as a female artist of color, as well as an NEA grant for your premiere of Bliss with Joffrey Ballet. How have your concepts or perspectives shifted about art making over these 11 years? There are quite a few questions along this, so let's start there.
Oh, yeah. I've come to realize my experiences between dance and community are, as I get older, are intertwined.
Mm.
It's not just this or that. Like it's become an immersion. It's such a good question. Like I think earlier in my career, I was always thinking about the steps or the form, which is really important to me. Of course, that's something that we all have to do that. But as I make more work, um, let's see, I become more invested in the why. I can't make a move unless I know why, where, I, who, all of these, more. I look a little bit deeper, like why are they there? What time of day is it? Is it night? Is it, So I'm really trying to create more of an environment and an emotional attachment to the things that I do, and then work in architecture. Of course, that's what. But the steps are really the last part for me. I really conceptualize myself to death sometimes, which is maddening as well. So yeah, that's how I think I've changed. I used to steps first, form this, that, and now I know that will come if I know where I'm at
Mm.
and why I'm there.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So staying here, so just going a little deeper, what aspects specifically have emerged as go-to anchors with your work? The why, you mentioned the why is one of the go-to anchors, but is there like a physical go-to anchor? Is it music? Also, are there other anchors that root you to move forward into a new choreography, or also resetting a choreography? How does that shift for you?
Yeah, I think music is a huge component to making me actually feel something. I'm not very clinical when I am and I'm not. I that's the but I think the anchors are more the physicality of working from the inside out of what I'm trying to relay. I don't like ornamental movement. I think, I have certain prompts that I use when I go into the studio just to take source material, but really each time I go into the studio, I feel like I'm starting over. I will be completely transparent. It's like it's new every single time, and the subject matter is always new. So I go into it almost as a beginner. Like I have a way, but then I don't want to have too much of a way because I think that sticks me into something else. And I'm always looking to move myself and my dancers in a different way. And that's part of Patamar. Usually I did a lot of stuff on point. I did a lot of classical work, and now this is really not that. It's the work is grittier, it's meatier, it takes the body in a different way that you know normally I wouldn't go to. So I'm really trying to work the physicality out in this older body now in a different way. I'm trying to find new ways that I can access my own um, ideas and physicality and not worry about the way it looks, more like how it feels,
Right.
and then send it out.
Yeah. So I do want to go back to Paramar again that you just mentioned. That was part of the last question. We didn't get to it. What is, and then I'll go back. I have a few more questions along these lines. What is coming up for Paramar?
We have a show in April.
Oh,
It
great.
is a socially distant show inside that we are reimagining. Um, the, we are reimagining Kiss. So we're going to take it. It's a 33-minute ballet, and we're going to put it on its head, like flip it over, like Stranger Things, just something just like wet. And then we have two other choreographers, Jennifer Archibald and Lucas Crandall, and they are creating work over Zoom. And then we will all get into the studio together later and put it up. And it's not in a traditional space because that's not what we can do right now. So what can we do? We can reimagine. There's this huge warehouse and have an offering when, it's designed and produced, but in a different way. It's and but also I'm making work that can go to the proscenium stage as well. So it's not just living in this world, but it's this and it's that. And also going into neighborhoods that are underserved, that are underprivileged, and it's all donation based. If
Wow.
you can't afford to go, it's okay, you're still welcome. And that's how we started. We had Patamar, and it was in huge parking lot with a big red rug that was massive that I ordered from Georgia and cut it up and then built these structures that went up at like skating rinks. And now I've been commissioned. I haven't signed it yet, but by another company, they saw it and they want to put it on the main stage.
I don't.
So I'm reimagining it there. So the whole idea is main stage, but going into communities where they wouldn't have the option or the opportunity to see high caliber art unless they went to these institutions. And I look at it as like plopping a Picasso in the middle of the south side of Chicago, and the beauty that's in that neighborhood, but you just don't really see it. So it's having a wider scope of what's possible
Beautiful.
right now.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. I really wanted to make sure that we talked about what's coming up for Patamar. And it sounds amazing. And that rug, that cut up rug thing sounds intriguing. I can't wait to see it. Going back into the other question, was Bliss, that's the last part of the reimagining idea through these 11 years, was Bliss a departure for you?
Yes, I think it was a departure in terms of due to the musical choice,
Which was?
which was Stravinsky's Don Barton Oaks. It was such a historical piece of music, and I knew I needed to be incredibly mindful and intentional in the way I treated it. And it was a beast. It was the terrain, and I spent so much time outside the studio trying to get around, again, why was this music made? Where was it made? Who was it made for? Researching the composition of it was actually really fun. I heard it and I thought, I don't know this composition. I know a lot of Stravinsky, but this one, that's where I found my inspirational launch in the historical part of Stravinsky's Don Barton Oaks.
Wow, beautiful. So I always think it's interesting for budding choreographers to hear from established choreographers about their journeys and how people started, how you started. Would you take us on your path and how you decided to be a choreographer? You spoke about the need. Yeah, so that is very important. And in that need, I know there's tenacity because we both know also as female choreographers, I'm getting to that question. But yeah, take us a bit on your path of how you got to being a choreographer.
I'm just gonna, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to. I never really thought of myself as a choreographer. I loved being a dancer. I was obsessed with being an artist, being the muse, being the keeper of the steps for somebody. That was really where I lived, eat, and breathed. And I was dancing as a guest artist for Luna Negra, and Eduardo, which is now the artistic director of Ballet Hispanico, said, why don't you choreograph for our 10-year anniversary at the Harris Theater? And immediately I started sweating. And, I was in my 40s when I started choreographing. I mean, I was a late bloomer. I started dancing when I was 19 so everything I was doing was always a little bit later, and finding myself as a human being a little bit later in life, just the developmental stage that I was at. But I said, okay, I'm going to, and I remember him saying, I know you can do this. I know you can do this. And it was my first work. And so that was really where I got my first break. And I'll say this, that I was really humbled and scared to think that I needed to fill this empty space for X amount of, minutes. It was but I also knew it was an opportunity for me to create my own identity at that moment, because I was leaving dance and I was transitioning out of dance. But again, I never really saw people like me, and especially of color, in front of the room. So I didn't know if it was possible. But at that moment, I thought, stop being paralyzed and start choreographing. And my goal was to create something that I wanted to dance at that moment, and that felt satisfying and alive. It was really my goal. It
Wow.
still is my goal.
Yeah. I think, I mean, to hear that you started at 19, I mean, really started, to hear you had this career because you needed to. I always come back to that. Like there's this need, and you spoke about it. It's not a wish or a want, it is a true need. And within that need, so much energy is created. And look what you've done. I mean, just extraordinary. So, as a female choreographer, I want to ask you, how has this contemporary ballet, how's the experience in the contemporary ballet world in terms of labels, talk back panels, conversations? What have you encountered? What has your experience been?
I mean, just you having me on this your platform is, I think, I know that there's more progress to be made. I'm just going to say it out loud. I need to, and I'd love to see more women in leading roles.
Yeah.
But where we're at, we're actually having this conversation, and I feel that it's long overdue. We're not just having the conversation and then going, okay, we had the conversation, but I'm all about action. I'm a verb, I'm a verb. And
You're an unstoppable verb.
I think action is, and you are as well. I mean, I think that's why, we have this simpatico situation happening, because we have the conversation, and then we want to put it in action, and that's what we do as choreographers. And I do feel that, again, we're making progress, but the door needs to be a little more ajar for.
Let's just say open. Let's say the door needs to be open.
And I think, I was on a panel with, it was years ago, the artistic director from Dance Theater of Harlem, and España Español, and they were all women. And I think I remember one of them, I can't remember who, but she said, I think the hard thing is that we don't have access. There's the access that we don't have to some of these big companies, or to certain things that will elevate our careers or take us, or just be seen. And it's the accessibility of things that I hope to keep moving forward and keep having these conversations, even if they're uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Because I don't know if you found out, it's not uncomfortable for me.
No, I know.
It's uncomfortable for the people. That's the interesting thing. And I don't know how you feel, but I look forward to the day when I'm not asked the question right off the bat, what is it like being a female choreographer? I feel like saying, first of all, it's exactly that. Like I put my head down and I'm like, okay. First of all, I'm a choreographer. Because the just like flipping it, right? So it's not the first question, how is it to be a male choreographer? Have you ever heard that?
Never. And I think, I possess masculine and feminine qualities like, everybody else. And I happen to be the host in a woman's body that's doing this work. I mean, I remember Joffrey winning works for the Choreographers of Color. I remember after the performance, mine was the last work. And I remember a couple, and like two couples, and they're like, I really like that last work. What's the guy's name? Who's his name? What's his name? And I thought, they really think that work came out of a man, because it was just, it was hard hitting, it was physical. They couldn't really, that was the first time that I really thought, oh, okay, they see us here, they see us here.
Categories. It's categories. And that is how human beings are. We need labels, we need categories, right? But I'd like to move past the male-female categorization and just be a choreographer, and we are held in the same esteem and the same conversations, or not, maybe not even sameness. I don't need sameness. Just let's talk about the art. Let's talk about
Yeah.
the choices. Let's so yeah, it's just I was really looking forward to asking you that question because, similar ages, similar trajectories in this contemporary ballet world, also dipping into other styles, because it's fun and exciting and that's what we do. We're adventurers, right? So thank you. Um, do you have a favorite or impactful memory? I always have to say the caveat, I know there are many, but do you have one that comes up specifically now from your creative life?
You know, I would I thought about this a lot, and there have been so many. I mean, I have so many great ones and so many not so great ones. I'm just let's be honest. But I think I could feel with Patamar's just first show. I could feel the appreciation from the community. I really felt it in that moment. Like I get teary eyed when I think about us making art no matter what in this parking lot, in this community of Hispanic and Black and Brown people, and people riding their bikes by and going, it was all classical music, and just stopping like they've never seen anything like this before. And it was really life changing for me. I know that sounds really corny, but
No, it doesn't. It doesn't sound corny at all. I think it goes back to what you said at the beginning. You're here because you need to be. And so you've created this, Stephanie. Of course it's life changing. I got chills. It's I really have a great sense and a great feeling that this is going to be really a big, big part of your life. It's your voice. You've created this. It's really, and it is of our times. Um, Huge congratulations. I have so much respect for this. It's very hard, very difficult to start one's own initiative. That in and of itself, right? Francesca Harper, a very, very dear friend of mine. I remember when she started the Francesca Harper Dance Project. It's constant, but it is yours and it is theirs and it is ours, what you're creating. Um, do you have an insight? And again, I know many, but do you have a specific insight that you can share about living a creative life?
living a creative life. I think for me, when I wake up, I had a mentor tell me, when you wake up, put your feet on the ground and make the decision to do something for your art every day. I don't care if it's that small. You have to constantly be an artist throughout your day. It's not separate. And it was of course a woman. She was my female director from River North years ago. And I think for me, that is key. It's the decision to make on a daily basis, because some days I wake up and I'm just tired. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and I think, so what? You know, get over it, acknowledge it, and then what's the next right thing to do? What are you going to do next? And it's not pretending, but really making that decision throughout my day of what I'm going to tackle, what's code red, what's not, and living in the moment, thinking about the future, but not, again, not sticking myself in a place where I can't imagine more for myself. And it's really a dreamer's way of doing things, but it gives me, I don't know, I feel like it gives me a lot of hope, and sitting with myself and manifesting on a daily basis what I really want in my life and what's important.
Yeah. I mean, yes, the dream always has to be, not always has to be, the dreams are there, right? But when I hear you speak, I hear, to quote you, I hear the verb. That what your mentor said is action, isn't it? It's so, yeah, we have to have dreams, or we do have dreams to manifest, but it that word manifesting, it is a constant recommitment, isn't it?
100%. And how am I going to do it? Doing the research, doing the work
Mm.
to get to that point is, I think, is sometimes a disconnect with people. It's like, okay, I've declared this to myself. I made a declaration to myself, and now how am I going to put it into action?
Yeah.
So that's where the real work for me comes in, and figuring it out. But that's what I do in the studio,
Yeah.
and it's okay if I don't have all the answers, but I'll get them. I'm tenacious. I did play a role. I was a superhero in a costume for River North Dance Company, created by Ashley Rowland and Body Vox. And I was a superhero in a costume and would put myself on a Velcro wall, and I was trying to save people from boredom. So I look at myself as Captain Tenacity every once. I'm like, remember that guy, remember that person, not guy, not female, male, remember that person. So it is ingrained in my desires. I think for one to have desires is important. And then what are you going to do with them? How are you going to make that work? That's a huge part of my life.
Yeah, I think that encapsulates it. Desires are great, but we both know, and anybody who goes forward on their path knows that it is the work. And you said it. It's sometimes I really have to be honest about this. That performance that you worked so much for as a dancer, right? That performance is so fleeting and so ephemeral. I have to say, you know what? It's the work, because there's a handful of performances that felt like that was it, right? In a total way. But man, it's the work I remember. I remember my body working. I remember, like you said, the planning, the present, what needs to happen. And that's exactly what I hear you say now. And this is what I also love. And we both mentor. I'm sure for you too, it's been a real conundrum yeah, I'm going to say the word, to convince people of the joy of the grit and the mosh pit and the work. I mean, Stephanie, I'm sure you'll agree, it encompasses so much of an artist's life. Like, if you're not going to commit to that, you don't get the shiny, or let's say not, well, yeah, it's shiny ball, right? But it's also that delicious cherry. It's whatever you want to call it. Right? That's what I hear you saying.
I think, I remember when I was teaching younger kids, they're like, I'm not enjoying myself. I said, you will when you know what you're doing. It will bring you great joy to overcome and learn and really be good at something.
Yes.
That's going to bring you joy and peace and vigor, and I think a lot sometimes, when they're young, working your body in such a vigorous way is hard. I mean, that is where I shined. When I was most tired, that's when I was my best, because everything else dissipated and I was like,
Right.
I was in my soul. I was in my body. And I love to do that with my dancers, like to get to the point where I can't see them thinking, but I see them in action and doing. And it makes me miss dance sometimes when I see dancers. I don't miss all the other hard things about it, and all the sacrifices that we all make. But in that little moment, and it can be fleeting, I think this is why.
Mm.
This, I see it, and I'm like, oh, that's it.
Mm.
And like you said, to convince them to access emotionally, physically, psychologically things that we require. I'm just like, come on, let's, because in the end, they will go to bed at night and go, I did it.
That's right. That's right.
I mean,
It's
I see it in your work. I see it in your work a lot. I mean, this sounds really weird, and I'm going to say it. I had a dream about you last night, and you were dancing, partnering, and you were wearing a red leotard. It was, and I was like, should I tell her that? Is that weird?
weird.
But I did. You were performing.
Wow.
You were performing, and you were just a spitfire. And like,
I was.
why am I dreaming? And I woke up and I was like, I actually had a dream about you last night.
Well, hey, you know what? As long as I can still dance in someone's dreams, right? The last and impactful question before we go into the end of this interview is in supporting and building a more equitable dance community, what are some of the specific daily practices we can be active with?
I think read everything. Read everything. I mean, I read a lot. I listen more than you speak.
Mm.
I was given, that's not that somebody told me that to me, and they were right. Like, listen more than you speak.
Mm.
And also, this same wonderful woman, another one passed away, but she said, be generous with your information. Not a secret. It's important to give it away, and especially to young people. But I do like that you said, you give it, and then you let them decide. I think that's been the hardest thing for me. But on a daily basis, read, I write. I love a podcast. I listen to conversations and just try to be inspired by the things around me at this point in my life where we are in the world. And I feel really hopeful. I really do. It's a good time to be an artist right now.
I agree.
I'm when I get into a place in my head that we're not doing this and we're not doing that, but we're doing something. And to live in the gratitude I think is important, because it keeps you in a headspace where, for me personally, anything is possible. The gratitude is what gets me up every day and going, okay, but I can do X, Y, and Z. And then this will come. But to keep practicing is key.
Yeah. Wow. Stephanie, what an inspiring conversation to sit here with you, fellow choreographer, fellow female, there I said it, choreographer, but we're allowed to. And just talk about art with you and hear your love and your adoration and your will and your tenacity and your brain. I mean, thank you so much for this very inspiring chat. I hope many young women get to hear this, and young men, and I hope people really listen. It was just very inspiring from you. So thank you. And I'd like to hear from you where we can find out more about you. There's a small bio in the description page that will accompany this video, but your Instagram tag or a website, or just tell us everything where we can find out more about you.
Well, we have PatamarDanceTheater.com. We have a website. Also, Stephanie Martinez Choreography. You can go to there and see a lot of my works and see a little bit more about me and how I can, I tap into the commercial world and to the concert world. So I have my fingers in a lot of different pots. And also Instagram, a Patamar. We have a Instagram. I'm so not a social media person, but I do have an Instagram page with Patamar Theater, so you can go there.
Great, great, great. Okay, so 2 websites and Instagram. Awesome. And as I said, yeah, you'll find out, you'll see or be able to read a short bio from Stephanie in the description box. We have new guests every week. Our next interview will feature choreographer, educator, and fundraiser extraordinaire, Alia Kache. And now is time for thanks. Gracie Spina, thank you so much. You know who you are. Thank you to our dance world that has held me up and does hold me up continually. Ever thankful to our dance community. And Stephanie, thank you again. You are the epitome of reimagining art. So I wish you the best. Hope to see you sooner than later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen.
Bye.